like we said before, all of these demands can be adjusted depending on the groups that are involved. But again, the goal is to get on one unified front, move forward, and really inspire change. On Sunday, right down the street in Nubian Square, we're having a super dumbed down version of the Unity March, except everybody's on wheels. So if you have a bike, a scooter, a rollerblade, a skateboard, anything that has wheels, come down to Nubian Square at 2 o'clock. We're doing a 2.5 mile ride. So we're basically going from Nubian Square past the police station. We'll make a left at Ruggles. We'll stop at the Harriet Tubman House for a water break. Then we'll go back down Mass Ave, make a right on Washington, which will bring us straight back through Nubian Square where the Black Lives Matter mural is, and right back into Nubian Square. On August 16th, we have a Feed the Homeless initiative. The first stop is going to be, and I hate saying this, and please nobody hold this against me, but the first stop is Methadone Mile. And I say that because those people need all sorts of help. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, but I know they need to eat, so we're going to feed them. And then after that, we're going to go downtown to the Boston Common, by the monument. That's by the Park Street station. That's also another spot where the homeless population hang out, so we're going to feed them as well. So if anybody wants to help out in any endeavor, if you're in an organization that's not here and you want to reach out for whatever reason, I'm here for a sponge. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. Thank you, PSL, for allowing me to speak. August 2nd is Sunday, and August 16th, another Sunday. We give back on Sundays. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Let's get another round of applause for Ernest. He's one of many people in the community who, are taking the next step, getting organized, talking to your neighbors, building with people in your networks. We all have networks. We have families. We have communities. We have, art communities. So it's beautiful to see the artists out here, to see organizers, residents, everyone, because we're going to need everyone, right? So just another big round of applause for all of y'all here today. It's 99 degrees. Y'all could be anywhere, but you're here, so we really appreciate that. So next up, I'm going to ask a good friend of mine, who y'all may have already heard from a little bit, because she, was one of the first people here who heard about the mural being torn down. She actually lives right behind here. So, she's really active in our community, going to these meetings, representing other people and herself, and yet she didn't hear about what was happening. So, if the most engaged people in these systems that are supposedly for us aren't hearing about any of this, how are we supposed to know, right? And so she's going to tell you a little bit more about, what is happening right now and what this is all a larger part of. So I want to hear a big, big round of applause for Rachel.
So before I get started, I want to start with this chant that the people of South Africa would use that roughly translates to all power to the people. So I'm going to say Amandla, and you're going to say Aweto. Amandla! Amandla! Okay, word. Yeah, that's beautiful. Power to the people. Since the destruction of the Roxbury Love mural just a few days ago, a lot of blame has shifted onto the residents of Roxbury. People talking about, why didn't you do anything beforehand? Why weren't you involved in the process? This has been happening for years. This mural was always temporary. Honestly, this narrative rubs me the wrong way because it's rooted in a displacement of the reality of this world that we're living in onto everyday poor and working people, rather than the people in power. We should be asking questions like, why did the city not properly thoroughly inform residents of this? We should ask, what is our government doing in a deadly pandemic where most black and brown people are at the highest risk for eviction and also dying from coronavirus to ensure people's income so they can even afford housing in the first place? The people who are in power, from the city council to the mayor and more, they're all going to be fine. They're not worried about rent or affording to live anywhere. I got a question for y'all. Who here thinks that Boston is an affordable city to live in? Right. Who here thinks that Welch really believes that racism is a public health crisis?
Welch is a fraud.
Last I checked, our brothers and sisters are homeless and living on the street. Just take a quick walk down to Nubian and you'll see that for yourself. Let's not get it twisted. We got to ask the right questions, the ones that challenge those who are in power. I'm a resident of this street, Waverly Street. Word. Hey, neighbor. I'm an artist myself, a painter, and an organizer. I've done housing organizing in Roxbury for years. I'm aware of the development processes in all of these meetings that go into making these types of decisions. I've been to them for Plan Dudley, now Plan Nubian, speaking out against these luxury developments that are always proposed that don't benefit anyone in this community, instead demanding deeply affordable housing. I'm also 23 years old. I don't have kids. I don't need to take care of my family after working a full-time job. I've had the luxury of attending these meetings by the Boston Planning and Development Agency, the BPDA, in the past. But keep in mind that my attendance has come out of my own investigation. No one was doing outreach to me. No one was calling me up or leaving me flowers at my door. Even about this proposed development right on the corner from my crib. I found these meetings myself or from other organizers in Reclaim Roxbury. As of 2015, 62% of households in Roxbury with children under 18 are headed by single mothers. That's the highest rate across Boston. And 44% of those households headed by single mothers live in poverty. So when single mothers, single fathers, working and poor parents are told to seek out these meetings themselves, on top of struggling to just survive, I gotta call bullshit. These processes ain't mean to include us, any of us. And when we are even able to get there, our voices don't matter anyway. As an artist myself, this mural meant a lot to me. And getting to see it every day was really a beacon of hope, of inspiration, of pride. And it's not just that the mural was the mecca of public art in Boston, as I like to say, but that it reminded Roxbury residents, as well as residents across the whole city, of the beauty we can create for ourselves. That we can do right by ourselves. The artist himself, Ricardo Gomez, said himself that this was our mural. This is the community's mural. Right. The destruction of this mural with no warning, not even to the artist himself, who he wrote that on his Instagram post, is devastating. The city is hurting right now. Like, we're all out here right now demanding, reconciliation for this mural destruction. But the destruction of the mural is so much bigger than just the mural itself. There is a war on Black America. There's a war in the streets right now between police terror and communities across the country. We're physically struggling to survive the tear gas and police bullets that continue to be inflicted upon our communities, just because we're demanding justice, right? But there are so many other dimensions to this war on Black America than just that. There's a war on Black America, and it's a cultural war, an economic war. The destruction of the Roxbury Love mural is just one instance of this premeditated destruction of Black culture across the city, of the cultural and historical erasure of what the city is all about. Roxbury is quite literally the heart of Boston, the heart of Black culture in Boston. There is so much Black history in just this 3.9 square miles of the city. We just won the name change to Nubian Square so that we can stop uplifting the names of our slaveholders. But what does this realistically mean materially when that Nubian culture is being destroyed before our eyes? Why is it that Nubian notions got priced out? Why is it that the Freedom House is being sold off? The Amilcar Cabral mural right over on Dudley got painted over white with nothing like a notice, let alone a community process. Mayor Welch can say whatever he wants about racism being a public health crisis, but we feel the insincerity because we are witnessing massive cultural genocide in the city. Gentrification is colonialism, point blank, period. The destruction of our cultural sites is one aspect of this 400-year-plus war on our people. And on top of everything else, we're living amidst a public health crisis and a crippling economic crisis, right? Millions across the country are unemployed, millions can't pay rent, millions have died as a result of this pandemic, all of which were easily preventable. Even before all of this, the median income for Roxbury was a mere $33,000. and the unemployment rate was almost 11%, which is more than double the national average. We know that the median wealth of black people in Boston is a damn mere $8. I know y'all saw that report. We know more and more of our people can't afford to live in this city. Boston is known for being the cradle of liberty, but liberty to do what? Give tax breaks to big corporations like GE, cut our school budgets, leaving arts always on the chopping block? What liberty do we have? The liberty to die early deaths from coronavirus, poverty, homelessness? Our brother Malcolm X, who walked these same streets, his house is right down that street over there on Dale Street, said, you don't stab a person in the back 12 inches, pull it out 9, and call that progress. And no matter how many times the city says Black Lives Matter, these crises only dig that knife of racism deep into our back. The eviction moratorium here was just extended to October 17th, and they say it's one of the strongest in the country. If this is the strongest, I honestly pray for the cities where they don't even have weak moratoriums, where they just throw us out into the street. A wave of mass evictions is on the horizon, and our government damn knows it. Maybe y'all already know this, but Massachusetts has had the highest unemployment rate in the whole country of 17.5% and is leading the nation in new cases of homeless families since 2007. This was before coronavirus. Think about it now. Tens of thousands across the city and millions across the country will be pushed into the streets, will have nowhere to go. A study by City Life Vita Urbana points out that 70% of eviction filings across the city are in communities where the majority of residents are people of color. And estimates show that the day the eviction moratorium ends, we'll see nearly 20,000 eviction filings. Meanwhile, this city, which is one of the top 5 richest in the country, is focused on pushing for development that isn't for us or by us. It's an imposition. Our so-called elected leaders are destroying the cultural assets of our community, like this mural, like the Harriet Tubman House, all erasing the black history of the city in the name of profit. So when we talk about preserving culture, and I mean black culture, which is under the same 24/7, 365 attack as black lives, it needs to be all-encompassing. It needs to point out that development isn't done with the most oppressed of us in mind by design. This system, the capitalist system, is not broken. It's working as it was designed to. It can't protect us. We know that firsthand from our interactions with public safety, aka the murderous police, who, if you didn't know, gunned down a Latino brother right down the street 7 years ago. His name was Ross Batista. Black people in a white supremacist system in a position of power only have tools given to them by their masters. We need new tools, new rules, a new system, one that is rooted in our culture, a culture of revolutionary struggle, just like our ancestor Nelson Mandela. We have to build power from the ground up. We need to be organized, more organized than these developers, local officials, the police, all of them who claim to serve us but continue to do us dirty every single time. We need truly democratic decision-making by the people and only by the people, planning for needs and well-being for all of us. History has shown us that the only people who are going to get us our freedom, who are going to get us what we need in our communities, is us, the people, and we got to be willing to fight for it. Amandla! Y'all remember it? Y'all remember it? Away to. Amandla!
Away to.
Amandla!
Away to.
All power to the people. Peace.
Thank you for another round of applause for Rachel. Rachel is the organizer with CSL Boston, one of the organizers of today's event. Feel free to reach out to her, anyone in a red shirt after you want to learn more. But we're just going to keep it moving because we still got a bunch of amazing speakers coming up. So next up, this is a part, like Rachel said, this is not just about the housing, but it's about the culture because it's all related, right? Because the people need to live in the housing and they're the ones who make the culture. So we need to be thinking about our people's entire well-being. So I want to bring up someone else who is no stranger to, the issue that, black arts and culture is under attack here in Boston, right? It's not just the Mandela mural, it's also the Harriet Tubman House, and it's also the African American Masters in Artists residency program here at Northeastern. That was a historic program, and we're going to hear a little bit more about what happened to that program and what's still happening today. So I want to bring up Marty. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Good evening. Good evening. I just want to say, I want each and every one of us to look around at each other. This is the power of art. Yes, yes. It's not even here, and we're here. So this is a celebration, and I want to thank the organizers of this event that gives credit to a community that is lifting up its voices to say we want to claim our neighborhoods. Yeah. Rachel was so on with every point. I'm not going to even try to match what she did. Thank you, Rachel. That was fantastic. And it is so indicative of how we have to look at the idea of public art as being participants in the idea of self-recovery. That is what memory is about. This mural that was here is a part of a movement that started in the 1960s with the Chicago Wall of Respect. And in urban areas where the people's voices were diminished, they began to rise in the art and make a statement. And so when Ricardo, who is an AMARP artist, African American Artist in Residency Program, said that I believed that Roxbury Love belonged here, he meant it. He meant it, and is on a line of the continuum of artists who install work to help us raise our voices and to uplift those that have not been heard. And so with that, I want to say that I hope that we keep on moving with this idea of bringing justice. It's about possession. It's about possessiveness. And what we've been dished out in 500 years is a shared history of white possessive logic. Now we're going to apply our own possessive logic to our communities for the education of our children, for the justice that we deserve. Land was taken and a nation was built. Labor was taken and a nation was built. We have to stop that right now. So, with that, I want to say that the African American Master Artist in Residency Program was created 42 years ago by the founder, Dana Chandler. When he created it, it was to give voices to people who had not been recognized in the Western art canon, whose aesthetics were true to the people that they represented and came from. And so the AMARP fight that we're fighting for our studios to be open to us, to have a place to be, is a real one to uplift and continue what he started 42 years ago. For those of you who do not know about AMARP, just a little brief history is that it started as an idea of Dana Chandler. It was housed on Northeastern's campus and then moved from Leon Street to another place, and now we're housed at 76 Atherton Street in Jamaica Plain. Currently, in a fight that became much more aggressive by July 2018, where we were going to be evicted out of our studios, told by Northeastern University. We existed under the Department of African American Studies, and now that has been reduced to global studies, and I'm not going to say that that's a shrinking of the world, that's a shrinking of the importance of what matters. And so, when we think about that, the word matter means significant. when we go from insignificance to significance, we are making the mark with what does matter, what's important, what is to be, and what we will stand up in. And so with that, the AMARP artists have been challenged with our studios and our studio space. And as of this year, in May, we were locked out of our studios with COVID as an excuse. Our materials, our art, we have a gallery. There are 14 artists represented in this residency that have voices that are enormously important. We're not talking about people who don't know how to navigate the society. We're talking about professors. We're talking about teachers. We're speaking of master artists here. And what is important about that is that when we were met outside of AMARC, we were not met with the keys. We were told that in order to access the building with our equipment, supplies, and art, that we would have to call Northeastern Security, arrange for them to meet us, and then a guard would go up with us for 30 minutes total. And we were only allowed to take things out, not bring things in. So this unfair injustice is what we are making a coalition with all of those who are being displaced in Boston, and especially those who are being displaced about the issue of art and culture. We want to unite with you in this coalition to say we are not going to stand for it. Give us the keys is our cry. Give us the keys. Can you say it with me? Give us the keys.
Give us the keys.
Give us the keys.
Give us the keys.
When do we want it?
Now.
Now. And so with that, I just want to thank you for inviting us to this gathering. It is important that we support each other. This is our community. We want to uplift our voices, and we want to see a mirror in our art that reflects our community, not huge buildings that are going to displace our residents. So, with that, AMARC is with you. We represent a contingent that you can be proud of, and that we are so proud of Ricardo and his work, and we continue to want to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing. We may be, some of us have gray hair. That does not mean we don't have youth might. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Marty. They're fighting the good fight over there at the studios. Okay, when Black lives are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Black lives are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Black arts are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Black arts are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you. Okay, so next up we're going to hear from a lifelong Roxbury resident who's here to share, her thoughts. So I want everyone to give a big round of applause to Elle. Elle, if you would come up, thank you.
Hi everybody. So I wrote this poem, I want to say like a year ago. None of this stuff surprises me. All this stuff pisses me off. I don't really have a lot to say besides what I have written down. We all know it's too late to be trying to clean up spilled milk. But if you had paid attention the first time our hearts hit the floor, then maybe you would have got it by now. It's what made the cup overflow. It's what caused this huge mess you don't comprehend, always saying, but you're blessed is not what's getting me up today. Maybe I shouldn't admit that I was broken by your hands because they are the same ones that forced me to learn how to put myself back together again on some, have you tried holding the power button head ass shit? Excuse me. So now I'm proud to have a cracked screen, missing keys and all, because I got duct tape, super glue, stuff to keep me functional. So don't let me overheat because my system will crash, but you'll get your money's worth because the elders promised that. What about my head, mummy? Mummy, my brain, mummy, my eyes. I told you things come to me like the devil in disguise, and you weren't inclined to help me because you said he wore one robe and only had one face and showed up when provoked. He could have never maybe slept in your room. and ate at your side and did all your bidding and carried your hide? Didn't you all have a deal? You were always quite close. A game of compromise was comparing your souls. So tell me I've earned this birthright of sorts, never fearing my shadow, walking a left-handed path until it all returns to me or I'm reduced to ash, because there's a catch in the chords. The ones you rip off for show, they don't just come together again. You can't apply do grow, so a God complex maybe. But you manifested me in her image, so call me by my name. You claim to fear God, but fear me just the same. Is your power debilitating? Do you wish to refrain from speaking your truth when there's nothing to gain? Well, it's simple. You're not speaking. Not your thoughts and not your words. The poison you spew, I could erase or return when you bear witness to your execution at the hands of so-called public servants. You learn to keep intuition close by your side. Now, I need to apologize for all this TMI. I just thought you should know. But if you did, you would have asked me a long-ass time ago.
Thank you. Another round of applause. Let's hear it. Okay, so I know it's come up a few times, right? Like we're talking not just about the Mandela mural, but we're talking about, other kinds of art, performing arts, other kinds of visual arts, but there's other aspects to our culture, right? And not just here in Roxbury, but also in the South End. And something that came up multiple times, and that also that, I feel very strongly about, is right now the closure of the Harriet Tubman House. That's in the South End, right? So we're going to hear from our niece, who is going to be speaking on behalf of the I Am Harriet Coalition, that is looking to, have more community input in the process to decide what those buildings are going to be, because that was a community center for generations, and it's going to continue to be like that, right? So let's give a big, big round of applause to our niece.
So can you hear me? Closer? Okay, so I'm going to give you quick history about the Harriet Tubman House, as I am an old South Ender. And I always like to talk about the black women, because during urban renewal, which a lot of you are too young to remember, but it was the cleaning out and the cleansing of communities. Closer. Black women were intimidated, some were beaten, given black eyes, pushed into rooms, and forced to sell their property. So all of those brownstones that you see, especially on Columbus Ave, Lucille Banks. And so the Harriet Tubman is remediation from the BRA, which is the BPDA, but we still call them the BRA because they haven't changed. And now they're removing restrictions of protection, ignoring additional restrictions. And as one of my friends who is a white male said, you cannot give a building founded by 6 black women to 5 white men. And this developer gets his way because he is connected to the BRA. He has everybody in his pocket through his donations. For the first time, you have elected officials who have remained silent. They're about to try to demolish her. My organization is Tennis Development Corporation. We were started by a black female. We are historical. We won the first tennis rights case in the country in the 60s, spearheading tennis rights across this country. Before us, there was no affordable housing, Section 8. We're the last ones there because we were founded at the organization who's selling, and we will be forced over McDonald's, which is interesting. But there has been complete silence because everyone is afraid to speak up. And when I tell Marty Welch, when you talk about racial equity, what does that look like for you? When you have a historical black organization in the Harriet Tubman that you're going to displace and kick out for, as my friend said, 5 white men. And we need more help. We're going to have a prayer service starting at AME Zion on Wednesday, which is Harriet Tubman's church. We'll pay homage to her. We'll go to 566. We'll go to the original Harriet Tubman house on Holyoke Street. Starts at 6 p.m.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for our niece. Hey, hey, ho, ho. This gentrification's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. This gentrification's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. This gentrification's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. This gentrification's got to go. Okay, so we're going to hear another announcement from the merchant real quick because, we got to stay in the streets. We got to stay involved in campaigns and organizing. So we're just going to give her the mic for one quick second.
I apologize for not having said this earlier to you, but every Saturday at 76 Atherton Street in Jamaica Plain, the AMOP artists are presenting Justice on the Stoop. We're out of our studios, but we're on the stoop of the building, presenting interviews of the artists who have worked in that building and are part of AMOP. It is a community gathering from 3 to 5 every Saturday through the end of September. So you all are all invited to come and show your support for art strivings and art survivings and art real in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so next up, I want to call Michael Prentice, who's here. He has also been in Roxbury for a minute. Some of y'all might have seen him. He's always showing up for the community, and he's going to be here speaking on behalf of Reclaim Roxbury, okay? Let's give a big round of applause for Michael.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy. My name is Mike Prentice. I am here. I'm a lifelong Roxbury resident. Been here, born in Boston City Hospital back in the day. Y'all youngins don't know about that. Grew up in the Mission Hill Projects until they displaced us from there, and been bopping around ever since. I'm here speaking on behalf of Reclaim Roxbury. We are Roxbury's watchdog organization against predatory development, sponsored by the City of Boston. So gentrification has a private side and a public side, and we have charged the City of Boston and the BPDA, otherwise known as the Black Person Displacement Agency, for using public funds, public resources to accelerate gentrification in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, the greater Roxbury area, if you will. And so we've been fighting that fight since about 2016 for 3 going on 4 years now. And so yeah, we're not this cruise construction blitz to destroy this cultural monument is disappointing, it's frustrating, but it's just another addition to the deterioration of the cultural fabric of this neighborhood as the City of Boston continues to wage its war on us. So real quick, I just want to add a little context for y'all to understand. I want y'all to keep your energy for these cool, this great lineup of speakers. I'm honored to be here to present amongst them. But real quick, I just want to add a little context. So this demolition happens in the context of Plan Dudley Square, now Plan Nubian Square. And this plan has been the City of Boston deciding what to do with its vacant, publicly owned parcels of land that have been vacant for a number of years, but this plan has been going for probably about 5 years now. And what they've been doing is trying to figure out the most wholesome, woke, crunchy way to sell our public assets to private developers who want to build condos, mini malls, you name it. We just actually defeated a project over by Ruggles Station held by the Feldman Developers Corporation. And so we're really happy that stopped. The battle doesn't stop though. Yeah, it was crazy. They were going to build like a Brooklyn Boulders, like it was crazy, Regal Cinemas, but we know who all that's for. And so this demolition happens in the context of Plan Dudley, now Plan Nubian Square. I got to get used to that. And in this, we have a Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Planning Oversight Committee, RSMPOC, body that's supposed to be made of residents of Roxbury and stakeholders of Roxbury who are supposed to be looking out for us. But y'all probably, raise your hand if you heard of the RSMPOC. Ain't nobody here heard of them, because they ain't for us. They got a little melanin in there, but they are the sort of gatekeepers. So I'm just saying that we have people who have been showing up to these meetings for years. And I'm so glad most of y'all have not, because it was a waste of time. I wish I didn't go. I had to go. But these meetings were pointless. They were just pointless demonstrations so the city can check off their little neighborhood participation box. We went to the ghetto. We, did a little PowerPoint presentation, and we left. And they didn't take in any of our considerations, alternatives for the predatory development models for our public land. So that's one context, that this is happening in the development blitz, spearheaded by the Marty Welch administration, by the BPDA, again, the Black Person Displacement Agency. Context number 2. Cruise construction is a known enemy of Roxbury for quite some time.
Yes, sir. Say that
I'll say it one more time for those of you in the back. Cruz Construction is an enemy of Roxbury for quite some time.
Yes, sir.
They got a little saison in their leadership. They got a little seasoning, a little few chocolate chips, a little racially ambiguous mix. But if you have a black CEO and you're doing the white man's bidding, can you call yourself black owned? I'm gonna let that sit for a second because they came out with a statement saying they destroyed this mural and they said like 5 times, black owned, we black owned. And we gonna recreate it, right? So, calm down, we black owned, we here for y'all, we here for us. Blah, 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 blah. But they say that, but so for example, my mom back there, what's up, Mom? My mom back there, all right, ease up. My mom back there lives down on Dudley Street. Dudley Street is across the street from Orchard Gardens. What do we call it now?
Orchard Gardens.
Orchard Gardens.
Yep.
Orchard Gardens used to be a housing project. It used to be the ghetto proper. And then the Cruz Construction was in charge of demolishing those projects.
Yep.
And the lead-riddled, asbestos-riddled projects. And what they did with the remains of those projects were to create giant piles all along Dudley Street, where my family lives now, of asbestos, of lead that stayed there for years, getting rained on. Kids passing through it as for shortcuts after school, breathing it in, playing in it, sledding on it, having no idea what's inside of it, until residents organized against it, awarded them what we call the Dirty Dozen Award, and put them on blast statewide for their crimes against the public health in the ghetto, in the Roxbury community. So we know Cruz Construction never was for us. They were never about us. They were poisoning our communities to save money, to cut corners. Luckily, we got that cleaned up. Luckily, we organized against it. They got fined for $500,000 to clean that up after the residents pushed them to do that. So I just want y'all to have that context, that Cruz Construction got a little seasoning. They got a little melanin in their higher ranks, and they're flexing that all the time. Minority owned, black owned, blah, 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 blah. But they're not for us. And so we got to be very clear that there's a difference between being black owned and pro-black. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And last but not least, the last bit of context I want to add to the mix is that, like Brother Kazi brought up, the imagery and the symbolism of Mandela is incredible to Roxbury. So Kazi brought up that there was a secessionist movement back in the 80s, 84 and 86 to be exact. And Roxbury residents organized to secede from Boston to become their own city called Mandela, Massachusetts. This is actually Greater Roxbury. It had some like J.P. Fenway, Dorchester up in there, so Greater Roxbury. And this imagery was important because after coming out, again, this mural was commemorating Mandela's visit, because he was like Boston holding it down for our freedom struggle, the anti-apartheid struggle. And so we wanted to name the city after him because we knew that the city of Boston was not going to prioritize our needs for the deeply rooted long-term families, the Caribbean families, the Cape Verdean families, all these different families who made up the heart of the cultural heart of Boston. And so the imagery of Mandela, the destruction of this mural, represents the taking apart of the last brick of that dream of an independent, self-determined, black, majority black, but diverse cultural fabric of the heart of Boston. Boston, in its desperation to remain relevant and to compete with these East Coast cities, with the innovation economies, with their techies that they're trying to incentivize to come in, is selling out its culture and selling out our entire neighborhoods, both with private developments and public developments. And so I just really want to underscore that symbolism that Mandela meant for a self-determined Roxbury, for a self-determined inner city that is continually under attack. And yes. And so again, Reclaim Roxbury, what we're working on and how we're adding to this is, again, our model is around creating critical engagement. Sorry, I'm trying not to talk over the reggaeton. We try to create critical engagement in the residents. We do workshops around how to speak developer. What is an RFP? What is an AMI? When they say income restricted, they say it's affordable, quote unquote, as many other speakers have harped on. But what they don't tell you is that the average affordable housing unit stays at 80% AMI. And so for families of 4 who make around above $80,000 a year, this would be affordable for them in their bracket range. But the median income for Roxbury is closer to $35,000 a year for a family of 4. Again, depending on where you draw the line. But it's not affordable for us. And so when Cruise Construction keeps hyping this up, when the city of Boston keeps hyping this up, when these independent developers, private developers, public developers hype this up and say income restricted, affordable, they're not talking about us. And, you know, we can't get used to that. We have to fight back. We have to change. And so that's how we're attacking it. We're trying to get people in these meetings to critically engage. You could come if you want and support, but the fight also happens here. And so can I get a round of applause for all of you who showed up in this oppressive heat, in this 99-degree heat, in this Marty Welch level oppressive heat, white man oppressive level heat. I'm really impressed that we had this showing. I'm really impressed that y'all could make it through this speaker list of incredible, great perspectives. I just want to add just a little bit of context, a little bit of history, a little bit of how we're approaching this angle. It's definitely an important angle, but one of many. So thank you very much. Salute.
Money for jobs and education, not for racist occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for racist occupation. Money for jobs and education,
Not for racist occupation.
money for jobs and education.
Not for racist occupation.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. We still have a few more speakers. So next up, I want to draw attention to, this isn't just a Roxbury issue, right? Although it's really important that we're, learning about Roxbury's history, not just the people who have been involved in these movements, but also, are the symbolism and the art and the culture and the people who still live here today. But this is happening across Boston and really across the whole country, right? So I want to bring up another housing organizer from Dorchester, who's also a member here with the PSL. So I'm going to give the mic over to Daniel Souza. Big round of applause, everyone.
All right, so I don't know how to follow up any of those speakers because everyone who spoke so far is doing an amazing job. So another round of applause for everybody who spoke. Also, I want to give everybody a shout out. I'm really feeling the energy. Revolutionary energy is extremely important in these movements. So I want to give a shout out to you two for being out here, for providing the energy, especially after a 100-degree day. To come out here with this much energy, I definitely appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So, over the past 10 years, or 30 years if you include the South End, there have been drastic changes to Boston's housing market, which to Boston's black and brown working class communities has meant massive displacement, housing insecurity, a large portion of income being eaten away by greedy landlords, and higher property taxes for homeowners. It also has meant local businesses, an important staple of any community, having to pay higher rents and even close down. Boston's murals paying homage to black history and black liberation, and alongside it, Boston's black art community have also been under attack by greedy developers and negligent and complicit City Hall officials. Over the past 10 years, the people have responded by getting organized, by getting engaged with the city development process, including attending hundreds of public hearings. So what lessons have we learned during those years in dealing with the city? What has our collective experience been in engaging with city officials and corporate developers? What has the community gotten out of those interactions? As anyone who has been a witness to anyone who has been showing up with the best of interests of community at heart to these meetings can attest, all that communities get out of these meetings are empty promises, confusing and irrelevant information, distortions of the truth, lies, and a refusal by city officials to listen as they gaslight community members. I myself have been to a few where city officials actually have become hostile to community members. As the city allows developers to tear apart our communities, they expect us to be thankful for these so-called mixed income units. They'll displace entire blocks and promise back a lottery for a few apartments. Apartments, by the way, they are not designed for large families. So who are they designed for? How are they determining what's affordable? They use income data from a large area, the so-called Area Median Income, or AMI, that includes wealthy cities around Boston, and claim that they have a metric for affordability. So not only are they handing out a very small amount of so-called affordable apartments, they are not defining affordability with you in mind, with Boston's black and brown working class in mind. They are not conducting an appropriate needs assessment with our communities in mind. Yet, supposedly, we are told that we have friends, supposed allies, fighting the good fight, our fight within City Hall. Now, there are some who do indeed have our best interests at heart, a couple. But we also have some wolves in sheep's clothing. Supposed friends of the people who know all the social justice buzzwords, but can't even vote for our people, vote for our interests. Woo! They use their platforms to sell us individualized private sector solutions for systemic problems and call it progress. Honestly, they might as well work just directly for the developers, which basically they already do. The city's involvement with the community in regards to neighborhood planning and development has not provided the community with the much needed, clear, and well-organized information that families, busy parents, folks working 2 to 3 jobs, students balancing schoolwork with wage work need in order to protect themselves from displacement. Sure, a handful are awarded new supposedly affordable units, a few benefit from home ownership programs, but the majority, this government is no friend of the majority of black working class families. Right. Yet, I hear some folks blame the community for not being able to defend itself. Listen, as it was pointed out before, if housing activists, organized and united as we are, as informed as we are, as much time as hundreds of activists across the city have spent studying the city's development plans, and still we have had a hard time keeping up with everything that is going on, how are people who are busy all day, taking care of children, their elders, sick family members, working multiple jobs, suppose themselves to keep up with all the rapid destruction happening? Because despite the city's superficial and misleading sham of public hearings, they still want you to feel guilty for not participating, and that's bullshit. So, while on one hand, Boston's organized tenants have been able to successfully fight to keep hundreds, if not thousands of tenants in their homes by fighting and demonstrating on the streets and utilizing legal resources, on the other hand, this system, this large machine composed of wealthy developers and supposed public servants have been bulldozing our communities so that a small wealthy class can reap massive profits. Thousands have been displaced from the communities, having to relocate their families to other cities such as Fall River, New Bedford, Lawrence, and so on, forcing many to lose their jobs or commit to long commutes. In a real democracy, if people power actually existed on a systemic level, if communities had control over their destiny, if public hearings were honest and community input was actually actualized, the Mandela mural would still be up. New development units would be all affordable, all of it, to community members, and would be designed for families of 4 and more. You wouldn't be paying 50% of your income and sometimes much more than that on rent. The black artists of AMARP wouldn't be facing displacement. If in Boston there was a real community process, public housing will be getting invested in, not demolished or neglected. Yet, here the community is, still fighting against displacement every single day and still getting displaced every single day. So while we fight to keep our Mandela and Cabral murals up in our communities, as we fight to preserve the Harriet Tubman House, as we fight to preserve Boston's black legacy alive, let's make sure that our communities' Harriet Tubmans, our communities' Mandelas, our Cabrals, our Malcolm X's, our Assata Shakurs can afford to live here. So I'm asking everyone here who has capacity, to please get organized with your local neighborhood organizations fighting for housing, your local neighborhood councils, and if there aren't any, start your own. Organize, we can fight back. Organize, we can demand, we can make the mayor and Governor Baker protect our communities. Actually, we'll be protecting ourselves. They're not going to do nothing for us that we don't force them to do. So, let's build a future that is for us and not for these goddamn luxury condos. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, so I know we talked a little while ago about the Harriet Tubman House, but there was another little bit of information that we wanted to share with y'all, because it's not just, a center that has housed, just so many incredible community-based organizations over the past few decades. It was actually built using money by the community. There was a program called Buy a Brick program, and community, we literally invested in that. Brick by brick, that building was built. And now they're telling us, nope, we're selling it, that's it, it's over. And so in addition to all the, the programming that it had, there's a beautiful mural that's wrapped around the edge, and that was painted by Jamil Parker. And so I know our niece is just going to come up and say a few more words about it, but it's still up there. I encourage y'all to go and take pictures, appreciate it, love it, remember it, because right now, even the Boston Arts Commission didn't have that on their website. I called them, I emailed them, they didn't have anything, right? They didn't have this up recently, so I don't know what the city's doing to track all this public art. They say they care, and yet it's gone just like that, off the internet, off of everything. So we need your pictures, we need you to be there, and we need you to support the struggle too, but I'm going to give the mic to our niece to tell you a little bit more about it.
So Jamil Parker has since passed, but his mural called The Honor Roll represents the diversity of the South End. So when you see the mural, you're going to see every race, every age, and right now, this is how devious this whole process is, because if I were not part of this, I would not see the corruption. The community process happened, and the permit to demolish her had already been taken, had already been applied for. And it's interesting because once they destroy that building, they're saying that they're going to try to preserve the mural. It's an old mural. Harriet Tubman was built in 1974. And for me, they're trying to preserve it. And I asked his wife, what would Jamil think of his mural possibly going into luxury condos? Because once you put it there, because he built it to explain to the world what the South End was about. And she never answered me. And I get it, it's tough for her. However, if you put that mural inside of a luxury condo developer building where the diversity, once they kill that building, the diversity is gone. That is the last resemblance, the last memory of any black people in the South End. So again, if you have a chance, it's right down on Mass Ave in Columbus. Beautiful mural, but it's also very old, so we're very protective of him. But please do whatever you can. Call Mayor Welch. He doesn't want to be called, but call him. Call 311. 311 is easier than trying to reach him through a number, because 311, they will get irritated. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for our niece. She's been at those meetings. I've been at those meetings. Rachel, all of y'all. I know some people have been at those meetings, and still they did not listen. So when they tell us, where were you in 2016? Where were you? I know some of y'all were there, and we're still going to those meetings. So I really need y'all to know why this is so important. Why we're out here in the streets still, because that is actually how we're going to do it. It's not just going to those meetings. We need all of us, right? So I'm really happy y'all are here. So next up, I want to bring someone else who has also been working for the people for so many years, someone who has been in these streets, not just this year, but for decades now, I'm sure as well. So I want to bring up Phoenix. Yes. I'm sorry.
Hey, yo, Roxbury, stand up. There's a lot of people here. Roxbury, stand up. A lot of people right now who are out here. Let me just get you familiarized. There's a beautiful woman who lives in Charlene Lane who she has raised half of our organization's young people. She takes care of our kids. I was part of Reflect and Strengthen. There's another old, he's not old, he's very seasoned,
man who will fix your suit if you need it. If you need it tailored, if you need your shoes fixed, he's right up the street. There's another brother who does a lot of music down the street. Everywhere you go, there's somebody here. From Mattapan to Roxbury, because I'm from Mattapan. But I had to show love and I had to show strength about this, because this didn't just happen just now. And sister who was up here, the reason why they're okay with being able to have that mural around luxury condos is because look at where the Freedom Trail is. I want you to think about that for one moment. Y'all ever took the duck tour? You ever sat in that duck tour and hear them? Because I've done it. I sat there and listened to them, the way that they talk about the Freedom Trail. So I know this don't mean nothing to them. And I'm not worried about anybody else but them little kids who walk by here during the school years. The ones who ask their parents about who is that man. And then they get to retell the story. They get to take a walk. Yeah, I hear that they're going to move it or rebuild it. You just took away a significant moment between a father and a son, or a mother and a daughter, or a mother and her son, or whomever. There's a piece that's still taken away. We're going to do a whole lot. We're going to do a whole lot. But just like we put in the post, just like Rachel probably came from a long day at work and just was like, what happened? What happened? Now we got to go kick up dust and do some more crazy stuff. What if folks took down the Boston Strong sign? That shit would hurt, right? It would hurt, right? That's how bad this is. That's how it hurts. But this ain't the only place. Y'all heard about Harriet Tubman House. Y'all heard about the mural. Who here about to raise their hands know about the Franklin Park Theater? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people here have ever been into Strand Theater before? Okay, for those of you who've been in Strand Theater, you see how big it is? What if I told you there's a theater bigger than the Strand Theater that's right in the hood? That was built in 1918. What if I told you in 1963 a black church purchased it?
All right, there you go.
2009, it got burned inside. Welch, Marty Welch, I'll be very clear, very aware of it. Menino was very aware of it. White was very aware of it. So this goes deep into our mayors. But it's right there next to Stashes, y'all. Right there where it says New Fellowship Church, the church meets upstairs. And we've been eyeing that building. We've been eyeing it. Some of us even try to buy it. Got attacked for it too. The same way you see that KFC that shut down. That ain't nobody brought in no 11 years. See, this ain't no hidden secret. This ain't no hidden game. We're not trying to kick up dust here, but we're trying to say as long as we're alive, because we know they're probably going to try to get us, but as long as we're alive, we're going to fix it up so we can hand the baton. My favorite artist, Nipsey Hussle, said the marathon continues, but what does that truly mean for us? It means that everything that you do from here, everything that you stay silent on, someone's going to lose on it. You know, they did have a few meetings about this mural. Then they paused it because of the pandemic. But you know what meetings they didn't pause on? The meetings on the fireworks. They didn't stop those meetings. They didn't stop the meetings about the parks and the redevelopment that they got going on. They didn't stop the meetings to try to bring 3 strikes up to Massachusetts. The junction. If you don't know what that means, it means if one person is in your house and you have Section 8 and they get arrested, the rest of you get arrested too and get out. They didn't talk about the adopted culture of what they got going on in the prison, but they had time to come take out a mural. They didn't put no signs up before. They didn't list out anything. And the worst thing's worse, they got people online fighting for them. They got people right in line. I'm sorry, Kim Jeannie.
Go ahead.
If you hear this,
go ahead.
You need to come speak to the people.
There you go.
Because see, here's the thing.
There you go.
What you say, Mike? I hear you, Mike. We can have that combo.
There you go.
All those people that y'all put in office to represent you, I ain't telling you to kick up nothing. Just hold them accountable.
Speak the truth.
You got up, you voted, right? You clicked that button. No, what they love to tell us. Our ancestors died for what, for us to vote? Not for the lesser of two evils, and definitely not for people who are just going to be poverty pimps.
Go ahead, go ahead. There you go.
Every single last one of us who are here, understand this. I plead with y'all. I fight with PSL, and I got y'all back like y'all got my back. There's no question on it. I got your back, Shimmy. I got your back, Shimmy, because I know you got my back. I watched this brother just get up and start doing cleaning. I watched people just get up and just start working, didn't know what to do. We led a whole march with Bloods, Pyrus, Crips. Can't nobody tell me nothing. So yes, we fired up. Can't take it no more. Fired up.
Can't take it no more.
We fired up.
Can't take it no more.
We fired up.
Can't take it no more.
You know what the worst thing is when you have one leader? You get one leader, you can have a little conversation with them. Hey, I know you've been eyeing that nonprofit building. If you just tone your people down a little bit, we can have a conversation. You know how many skeletons are underneath Boston? Your biggest fear is a 15-year-old telling you about some 90-year-old shit.
There you go.
Excuse my language. I know there's a lot of aunties in here and a lot of uncles. Brother, wanted to give him a flyer, please. He want to know what this is about. But there was a beautiful mural that was up here that was taken down.
Oh, Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela.
But it's important for y'all to understand this. This ain't the only fight that we got. But this is something that also brought people together. There are people right now who are in their houses who've been through this situation, and they're like, man, that's just another thing they didn't took away from us. They really upset. They really sad. For anybody who got anything to say about any community member who did not come out, please feel free to come see me. Because we know who was in those meetings. You talking about Zoom meetings? How many people even had computers? Because I know 30% of the young people who live in Roxbury did not get computers
There
during
you
the
go.
school.
There you go.
Because y'all make sure it happens. So who are we really talking about? A little over 50,000 people, right, live in the Roxbury community. 50,000. About 46% black. Another percentage Hispanic. Come on. Come on. We don't need to keep this happening. This ain't no trend. This ain't sexy to be out here. It's hot. It's hot. It's hot. This ain't sexy. We want to have fun too. We want to go chill and just relax. We want to just go through the pandemic too. Why y'all gotta make us shake the room? But I guess we gotta shake the room.
Go ahead.
And we gonna keep shaking the room.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I keep looking at you because we in front of everybody, and I told you this already, Rachel. I
Rachel.
follow you. Tell me where to go. Don't play.
Go ahead, Rachel.
This whole entire thing has been our city. We have carried our people. We've held it down, but there's way too much happening. Way too much happening in them closed door conversations. Y'all need to be asking, okay, so you're the person who runs the accounting, what does this look like? Okay, you got a charter school here, you got Latin Academy here, but what's going on next? Okay, there's questions to be asked. And we got y'all back as long as y'all got ours. And honestly, we just need y'all to show up and ask us and let us know what you want to learn on. We got libraries on libraries. Shout out to the BPL that's in the building as well. We're not playing. We got literature for you. Everybody. Oh, you're white. This is your